What's up, humans, and welcome back to the Human Music Podcast. This is episode 59, Page Turner Provides Value. Today we have a special guest, Paige Turner, who has found success using sales funnels to build an email list and sell beats to artists online, and even wrote a chapter in the MIDI Money Beat Traffic Hacks book. We discuss his use of funnels to sell beats, automating repetitive tasks, investing, and the business model of problem solving. Now, we got some sponsors that are super dope. Check out Dojo TV. That's free producer live stream classes from the Producer Dojo Senseis. We also record our podcast live over there sometimes. Next, the weekly download, where you can learn directly from Il Gates in his private weekly group lessons and get access to over 230 more episodes in the archive for just $20 a month. Incredible value over there. You will learn a ton as a producer. If you want to get your engineering and mastering skills up, we recommend Guest Practices, where you can learn from Seth Drake at the Approach Institute. He's the best engineer we know, and over there, your first class is free. Those links are down below. The beat behind you is one of mine. It's called Katanas by Luke Rain, and there's a link to that below as well. Holler, everybody. Appreciate you, humans. Let's get into the episode with Paige Turner.
Hello, people of Earth. This is Tesco with Rip Kenny and Trap Jesus, and you're listening to the Human Music Podcast. Woo!
Human Music Podcast. I like it. Hey! Now we're recording. What's up, human? Recorder said 3, 2, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, and eventually started recording. But we are here. We're back. I'm Luke Rain here with my awesome co-hosts, Rip Kenny and Tesco.
Yeah.
And we are very excited to bring you a special guest today by the name of Paige Turner.
What's up, guys?
Dope producer, entrepreneur, and much, much more. We're going to get into that. But yeah, Paige Turner, why don't you give us a little background on yourself? Tell us what's up. Tell us your superhero origin story, how you became the producer you are today.
All right, sure. So I started as a rapper, like 16, pretty much, just using a headset mic, trying to rap. I used to go under Izzy. That was like my name. And so anyways, I just needed beats one day, dude. So I had a friend who had FL Studio, and he's like, hey, Tim, he lied to me, bro. No cap, looking back. I'm like, I'm happy he did though, right? Because that's what I needed. He was like, oh, Timbaland uses this, Pharrell uses this, blah, 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 uses this. And and so I was like, FL Studio, okay, I'll try it out. And so that's all I needed to know, right? And so pretty much I got hooked on making beats. I began to sell beats when I was like 16 under Izzy Beats. Like I was on SoundClick in them days doing number one on SoundClick. Like it was a good time coming up. And then I got into music a lot more because, that's really who I am. I'm a songwriter. Like producing is kind of part of it, like you gotta put it all down and you hear it. So that just comes with it. And it's a good, it's a good way to make some money. But pretty much I really got into music. So I changed my name because I'm like, Izzy, you got all these things, when I go ahead and search Izzy. So I went by Paige Turner just because one day I was driving and I was like, I need a name like Jay-Z. J. Cole, just like first name, last name, Kendrick Lamar, and so to me, I was like, I don't know what happened. I remember I felt it though. It was a zone. Paige Turner, was the name. And so since then, I just been trying to like make music, make money on beats, and just kind of really my big thing is I'm trying to make money to change lives, and like give, like I'm really trying to give. That's my new thing. I feel like the more I give, the more my life is like fruitful, so that's pretty much where I've been at, just trying to give back. So whenever anybody hits me about anything, I'll be like, yeah, give me a sec. It might take me like a little bit to get to you, but I will, I'll go out my way to give you like sauce. And you never know, man. I've built some good relationships like that,
Yeah, absolutely. We're all producer educators working at the Producer Dojo school.
Love
So
it.
absolutely, man, like that feeling of being able to give back and help people and pass on the knowledge, share the knowledge, and build the community is so key, you know.
Yeah,
And it's I mean rewarding just on an emotional level, but also like now you got more producers that are even better around you that
mhm,
like you and want to do favors for you back, and they're in better
exactly.
positions because you help put them there, and then that's how you raise the
Yeah, it's
whole
funny though.
community up.
Yeah.
Oh, I was
Go
just
ahead.
gonna say
Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
there's even data to support the fact that like real happiness doesn't come from buying yourself stuff. It comes from giving back to others. Like they've done studies where like lasting happiness that's not like fleeting, like you got a jet ski and you went and rode it that day and you're like, oh, this is the best thing ever. Like like real lasting happiness, like years later, is only derived from moments in which you gave time, money, effort, whatever to someone else and made their life better. That's the kind of moment that like stands out in a person's life that actually does enrich it for the long term. So it's no surprise to hear you say that. I'm glad that you're going down that path, because a lot of people take much longer to get there. And we, us being teachers at the dojo, I feel like we've all probably got a little bit of that sensation as well, but it's the right way to go.
Yeah, man. And it's kind of like the more you teach it too, I guess you would call it, the more you teach it, the more you kind of learn it yourself too. Like the more it's really like embedded in you to where you could break it down super simple. So that way people aren't struggling. And because you know how it is in the beginning, you got all these, you have thoughts that are happening like 2 years down the road. It's like, what happens if this happens? It's like, bro, you haven't even done the minimal. You know what I mean? You're talking about what happens at the maximum. So I feel like, I really like to help people in that sense. Like, hey, whatever I feel like you hit me up for, I hope people walk away with value. And so, I don't even hope that it just comes back. It comes back, so it's all love.
Yeah, it's like a common thing too, I find, where the ideas and the connections and all that you think are really going to be the ones that take off and bring you to the next place are usually not the ones that are. And it's usually like the random opportunity or that random song idea that ends up like, or the one you don't expect, that ends up, being the one, takes to the next place. It's your favorite song or whatever. And that's like the perfect way to do that. It's like the dandelion analogy where you just like shoot the seeds off into the wind, and wherever they land, like you'll find out when it grows.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or like even just like the person that like, you weren't like, oh, I'm gonna get a lot out of this relationship. You just like became really good friends with someone, and like those are the relationships in which you can actually like grow and build and do successful things with, because it's not forced. I mean, I think that's a constant thread in the music industry too that people miss, is like most of this stuff happens on a relationship basis first. So like if you become friends with someone first, the chances of you doing something great together are much larger, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
I want to
100%.
run back to something that you mentioned briefly. So you were making beats at 16 and selling them for money. What was that like? So you were in high school making beats, making money out. You must have felt like a rock star.
Dude, and I really did feel like it, bro. So at 16, I was still hanging out with a bunch of friends, right? But so my friends were a little different. They didn't really like smoke weed, or like we kind of drank sometimes if we had like, homegirls coming. But like I had a homie who was into like art. He would always draw. Another guy who loved graffiti, he'd always draw. Like pretty much all my friends drew except me. And so it was always just a vibe to like, I had friends come over, they draw, we, kick the shit, and then, we just make a vibe. Like pretty much it's all me, right? But not really. Like I remember I was making music, just having a friend talk on the track on the intro before I kick a verse on this beat I just made. And looking back, I'm like, those things were necessary to happen, so I could understand music is kind of that. It's freeform, But yeah, it was pretty wild. So my the first beat I sold, I was 16. It was $100. So the way that went down, so I had built a SoundClick page, and so I had realized that some of the best producers on there always had pages of beats. And so to me, it made sense. I'm like, as an artist, I'm looking for the perfect beat, like not always R&B beats or rap beats. And the more you got, if you can really kill it in all those categories, because people always tell you to stick to one thing. I disagree. You know, if you can really kill it in all those categories, you can tap into a ton of artists. So my goal was like, okay, I need 50 beats so I can take 2 pages of, on my profile page with beats. And so that turned into a thing, just make beats, make beats, make beats. It wasn't even to sell them, but I was like, at some point, I'll make a dope enough beat that'll sell. But I was just trying to build that page. And so one day, some dude hit me up. I didn't know how to sell a beat. So I was like, yeah, I'll give you the beat on PayPal. Just like send me the money and I'll send you the beat. And it worked. And that's kind of how I did it. And then I added PayPal buttons to my SoundClick. And it was pretty early on, and I would do a ton of things, bro. Like on MySpace, I was talking about it the other day. It's kind of wild. It's kind of messed up. But I would put like all these players, right? These like HTML players in like a bulletin board. And it would like probably crash your computer. But I got these VIP spins for like 200 spins for free, and you multiply it by a gang of people. I was like ranking on those systems, but it was a good time, bro. It was a good time for anybody to kind of go up in there. I mean, that's kind of how people were doing it. That's how I learned how to do it, but there was some good music being made in that time, because if not, you were just going to drop down and not sell no beats, but yeah, those were some good times early on, just trying to make music. That's how I learned that making beats is kind of a good income. Because rap is kind of a hard thing, at least for someone like me, because I'm not too caught up in being an image. That's why I'm okay with being a songwriter. Like I have a song right now that I'm working on that my ultimate goal is definitely to give it to somebody, because I'm like, this is sick. But, it could be sicker. So, that's kind of like the road I've been taking with music, at least. It's crazy because I haven't really been trying to sell beats lately. Just because, I mean, it turned into a lot of work to deal with rappers, and I did hire like a VA to handle my emails. But it still is like, I felt like a job almost. And that's not for me what music is at the end of the day. It's kind of like I make music when I want to make it. That's why I like things to be automated, so I don't really got to touch them.
Amen. Yeah, building systems, I think, is like a healthy part. We talk about that a lot, just as far as like the production side goes. Like, set yourself up some templates, have your organized library, know exactly where your sounds are, have a mixing template so you can move through these things faster, the same things you do over and over. But that's a very good point. Like outside of the actual music creation, also having systems built up to save you time and energy, especially from repetitive tasks. And you mentioned the term VA for anybody out there. I believe you're talking about a virtual assistant.
Yep. My bad. Yep.
No,
I should clear that up.
Oh, it's all good, man. We're used to, we've been doing this for like a year. We get used to explaining the terms.
Nice. Yeah, it's definitely something you want to do. If you don't want to feel like you're always doing something, and you know how music can be, it's not a payout right away. It is a relationship business. And so the more you can kind of automate that, I love it. Systems are everything. Email is number one, obviously. Because that to me, like without email, I probably wouldn't have been able to do nothing in 2020 or even this year, because it's not like I'm spending a ton of money on ads anymore, just because I'm okay with, getting some bread on the email list. And then I got homies that'll go ahead and let me use their email list and I'll promote their stuff. As long as it's like some value, like, give me like 10 free beats I can give to my people, and then I'll give your people another 10 or 20 free beats or something, just so I can get the email to promote later on with some crazy stuff. And I dropped some wild emails, bro, to artists, like I had a email that I wrote that said, I think you're writing too much.
Yeah, I got that one.
Okay, yeah, that was, dude, that one is it's high conversion, bro. It's crazy how many like people still follow up to that email talking about like, I needed that, because artists be, writing and writing and writing. And as a rapper, it's flow. It's how you sound. You got to be recording. And so, I'd be talking about that, you're talking about you writing. When rappers tell me they're writing, I'm like, but what are you recording? How do you sound, that's really what matters. And so my email list is that kind of stuff. And I usually have that automated though, like I don't be sending those emails. I usually write them up like middle of the night. If I got like some time, I'll write 3 emails tonight or something, or like over a month, I'll add like 2 or 3, 4, but just to add to the drip. So when anybody's new, I got like 30, emails that are in the drip versus 6 or 7 that I had when I started.
So do you have like a mega campaign where you just, after every couple of days, you release a new article and you just build up a fat stack of articles? Or do you have like multiple email sequences that kind of funnel into a main one?
The way I do it, if I'm doing an ad, right, it'll pretty much be a click funnel. So I'll give you 5 free beats, blah, blah, blah. But in the email sequence, so that six day that I have that pretty much a special, I'm sending you the email about that and blah, blah. I'm trying to sell pretty much, right? But it's a light sell. Because after that, that's when I drop the value. If you don't buy, it's kind of like, okay, that's when I really go hard. So if you were about to leave, it's about to go crazy. So that's when I upload, I have all the BeatStars beats. And so you know how that goes. People don't really run through them if they don't really know you. So I'll be like, I have a new free beat. Boom. It's a beat I dropped like a year ago. But it'll get plays. And so I'll have like 15 of those. And then, maybe like 10 that have like sauce and then, asking questions and stuff. But if I could really grow that like into like 60 or like 90, even 100 emails, like over a day, every day, new email, or even 2 a day, I think that could really, pump things up. Because I feel like I haven't really been using BeatStars how I should have. That's how I discovered that. I'm like, let me start sending them to these free beats, these free downloads. And then, one day I checked my PayPal. I had like $200 in there. I was like, oh, cool. Like that was a no-brainer, right?
Tight. So for each of these click funnels, do you do like a drip campaign for that, or do you just like build a mega drip campaign that like everybody gets added to?
Pretty much everybody gets added into one list. I haven't really cleaned that out. I really should. And I know it's recommended. So honestly, don't do it how I'm doing it right now. Definitely update your people. I just haven't sent that email that says, if you want to stay on this list, do this. Just because to me, I'm like, I have emails that from people that I don't always check out. But maybe once every 6 months, I might. And so as long as like I'm not, unsubbed from Gmail, because you know how it'll do that now. Mm-hmm. Oh, you haven't opened this email for a year. You want to unsub. As long as that don't happen, I think I'm straight. As long as you provide value.
Right.
At some point, you'll get it.
Yeah, have you seen any points of diminishing returns on like how often you send emails? Because I've heard marketers say like some people are really cautious, like, oh, don't oversaturate your list, and other people are like, that's your list, you need to saturate it. They need to see your name all the time pop up in the inbox with value, so hit them every day if you can. Where do you land on that? More is better?
Yeah, don't be aggressive. Like I said, if you're dropping actual value. That's the thing. If you're only dropping your free beats from BeatStars, like, bruh, there's 100 beats on YouTube already. But if you're like really hitting them with some sauce, or like, it's late. I think it's like the 20th email. I have like a pack, which is like cheap, right? It's like $10. But even that, like for anybody who hasn't bought anything, here's like 5 beats for $10, and just things like that. That's high value to me. Because then, I also have like a social media thing, where I'm talking about how to build your ads as an artist. Because I've ran ads as an artist too. So I show you literally like it's my computer and it's me talking about boom, boom. But that's just like a free bonus I added. So if you can actually provide real value instead of trying to like paint it like value, then I think the more you send, it's better, because you become into like an authority in a sense. That's how I've always said it. Like the more you give, like actual value is giving. So the more you actually give, you do kind of become an authority. People kind of listen to you. And so that doesn't necessarily mean they have to give you your money, but it's value. At the end of the day, you're providing value and they look up to you in a sense,
Absolutely.
So as long as it's value, I would drop it all the time. Boom, boom, boom.
That's what's up. Yeah. Go for it, Tesco.
I was just going to ask, how much of your engagement then do you feel like, if it's not too behind the scenes, how much do you feel like is that automated drip campaign versus like actively writing up new emails and sending them out? Because it seems like you said you try to keep it as automated as possible.
Yeah, So pretty much the drip is a lot of it, because at that point they're pretty much on my IG, on my Facebook maybe, you know, and then I still do upload some beats. So it's like if I had a 30-day drip, you might have gotten like 42, not even, maybe like 38, you know, emails. I might write actually an email or two a week, you know, but so it just depends where you're at in that campaign. But in the beginning, definitely I'm super hard with it, just with that drip, with that 30-day drip. And I'm kind of just banking that at that point you like it or you don't, because it stays like, so it opens up really high, right? So like the first 2 emails is like 75, 70. Then it drops to like,
rates.
Yup. Then it drops to like 30, but then it jumps to 50. And then so on there, it stays pretty high up until like the 12th email is when you start hitting the 10s and the 6s and the 7s. But to me, those are like the super fans. That's how I view it. That's what you want. You know, I'm like, I'm okay with that. Like, I don't need all that juice. This is like, I pretty much know my customers. You know, when I see sales coming in, I know who this is. Like, I've seen this name. I've seen him on Instagram or whatever. He's hit me up. You know, he showed me love. And so I prefer that, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, instead of worrying about keeping 100% of the people on your list happy and not, you know, worrying about annoying the people that didn't want to hear from you in the first place, they just wanted that free beat pack in the front. Give them enough so that you see who's really around. And then, I mean, you know, then you can send those people special offer if you really want to, right?
Oh, dude, all the time. So exactly. So the way I put it, so pretty much in my first funnel is pretty much a variety pack. I don't call it that, but it's pretty much that because I have also all these bonuses, right? But it's pretty much a variety pack. But as you're in the funnel, I have a boom bap pack. I have the R&B pack. And so right now I'm working on the Latin pack. You know what I mean? And so it's just small. Like the boom bap pack is like 30 beats and that's like $37. And I give you the stems. So that's wild. You know what I mean? Like $40 for all these beats. But to me, it's nothing. I'm like, what do I got to lose? I want volume, you know, especially if I'm not running a bunch of ads like I used to, just because I feel like, you know, I have that list and I should be able to churn on it, you know, at least for the meantime, before I really want to like turn it into like another growth. Cause that growth is you know, it puts a lot on you. You got to do a lot. You got to watch it really, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Totally. You could easily spend a lot of money on Facebook advertising if you're not paying attention.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. And you'll get some gray hairs. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, especially these days with all the changes to the algorithm and changes to Apple's policies and everything. That's really
sucks.
Done a number on how easy it was to get people, like, say, you know, like you mentioned having an artist campaign, ads for artists. And yeah, all of us are exploring that, and have definitely run into that brick wall recently.
Leads are expensive now. Well, not expensive. You just got to provide more value. That's the only way around it. I'm like, provide more than like when I had a campaign that I've been debating about going back. It was like, it's just kind of an ego thing, but I was getting a lead for like 7 cents, 10 cents, but it was 42 free beats, you know? And then my big pack had like 70 whatever beats. And it was cool, but I'm like, man, I don't want to, you know, be that guy who wishy-washes everything. So I did it for a limited time. But sometimes I'd be like, man, that's just providing excessive, like crazy value. What's wrong with that? You know? So
doing that shit for a limited time can be a gift and a curse, because people just want to jump on it. But then if you stay honest to what you said, then it's like, damn, now I got to shut the doors on this thing that was working so well.
Yeah, man. You know?
Man, I notice a lot of producers get super angry at you when you start coming with those kind of deals, because everybody starts feeling like their work is getting devalued. And, you know, some people also just don't want to put in the work to put together those offers, because giving away 40 beats is like most people's product. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So,
I guess they got to make more beats.
Yeah. That's my flex. Yep. I agree.
But it's like, you know, I feel the mentality is always just like more. It becomes kind of like this endless like chase and endless cycle of constantly just fighting to provide value. What do you think, like, engagement wise? I know you talk about the drip campaign. I know you talk about, like, you know, you have your other socials connected to it and stuff. But do you feel like there's anything that you do special or differently when it comes to like or not even special or differently, but anything like especially notable when it comes to like communication with the people that do fuck with you? Like, how do you maintain that core community, or is that mainly maintained through just like socials and emails?
It's a combination of everything, because like, so I'm really easy to get to, which is like a good and bad thing, but mostly good. Like I honestly don't have a lot of people that hit me up and it bothers me. And because it's usually other producers who are trying to make some money, or like, hey, I saw you bought this, what else are you buying? And I'm like, hey, I ain't buying nothing right now. Like, let me tell you, So it just kind of depends. It's usually through online though, most of the things. Like I do have a Discord server. And that's just me. With whoever wants to come in, they can just come in and chat, And so I got I've met people that I didn't know just coming in, and now they also provide them value, because I'm providing value, they provide them value, and I've learned things just from people, So, but it does become a thing. Like you are kind of chasing your tail, trying to with beats, at least it's like 40 beats, and then 7, what do you want to do? Like 500 beats, and then what?
Yeah.
So you do have to find a balance. Maybe if your beats are like super dope though, like extra dope, you might be able to do something else. Because I was giving away 5 free beats in the beginning, but with track outs, because nobody was giving them with track outs.
Yo, your first ad was really dope. Or I don't know if it was your first one, but the first one
I
saw where you were walking through the studio. It was just like super natural, like you're
on
talking
the fly
to the camera and talking about, oh yeah, see man, that's what you need. You need to be in the studio with the track outs. Everybody else is doing it wrong, but don't worry, I got you. Like right away, I was like, man, I mean, I already knew you. But I was like, damn, if I didn't, I would feel like I knew this guy a little bit. Like I trust him, just the way he's so personal and just like talking to the camera, talking directly to the artist about something they didn't know they need, but obviously they need. That was really well done.
Yeah, you do have to know how to communicate. I always say just be yourself. Be yourself, because that way you're not coming off like scammy or whatever. Or if you are scammy, like you're coming off as a scammer, you deserve to get outed or whatever. So just like be yourself. So that ad though was crazy. It was a combination of having great video, which was just me, telling you why you need these 5 free beats, right? Because when people are in the studio, like the major artists, they got track outs. You don't, So I'll give them to you for free. Boom. So that's just, it's a combination of that and then the ad copy, because not everybody plays the video. A lot of them did, but it was crazy. Like most people are like, 10 free beats plus track outs. Me, it was something how to avoid paying a producer too much for track outs or something crazy. It was just something that caught attention and had like an emoji. It's pretty simple, but it was a question versus, here's what I'm trying to sell you. It was kind of like, here's a story, And so,
hook story offer, right?
Yeah, pretty much hook story offer. Yeah, that's the truth, man, because you have to hook them. I mean, people are scrolling. You just got to really understand what you're going against. People are scrolling. So, the first thing I'm like, hold up, whatever I said after that. I forgot what I said, but I'm like, I know the first thing I was like, hold up. And so everyone's like, he's wearing like a salmon shirt. It stands out, like it wasn't a black tee, white tee. It was like a salmon shirt. And it's not like I super was trying to do that, but it kind of, you do kind of have to think that out, that you're trying to get seen. So it did a lot better than I expected it. I mean, that was my first ad, and that was my first time selling beats as Page Turner. Like, really, it wasn't Izzy Beats where I'd made all this money as a kid and boom, boom, boom. Like, it was really I had no email list. And I was able, from that ad, I got crazy on it. It did like 15,000 emails in my first 6 or 7 months. Like the first couple, 2-3 months, it was, in my eyes, it was bad. I was breaking even. But then I went to Nashville, right? And so we had a MIDI money. It was like a mastermind. So it's like Anno Domini.
I was going to ask.
Yeah, man. Legion Beats, Anno Domini. So, okay, so if you guys don't know, like a year and a half ago at this point, they had officially made $1 million each selling beats without the traditional way, like having a BeatStars page or whatever. It was all ClickFunnels. So I joined that group or whatever. I did everything I was supposed to, and it worked. I just kind of went the extra mile. I read these books on how to write better, how to talk to your customer, how to, provide value. What does that even mean? what to expect and how to manage failure. That's kind of like one of my biggest things is, you know, how to keep it together when everything's burning down. Cause that's how it feels the first couple months, you know, like I was burning through bread. Like, yeah, I was breaking even, but in my eyes, I was burning through bread, you know, like I was kind of going all in. So I didn't really have a lot of room to move. But anyway, so I went to Nashville to meet these guys. And so I had found out that breaking even is amazing. You know, name a business that breaks even in the beginning. And so it was just that mindset shift where I realized, okay, I try to be confident in what I do. So I'm like, okay, I know I'm nice. Now I really need to, you know, take this to where I see it. And that was the next couple of months of, you know, I had a trap pack. So it was like 10 free beats on the lead. And then I gave you like 40 trap beats and it was wild. You know, I was making like a beat daily just because I knew I was like, man, I got this. And so it was just a crazy process, you know, just to really think that like, dude, I came out of the jump, no emails. I'm a rapper trying to, you know, sell beats and it works. That's how I feel like anybody can do it. You know what I mean? Anybody can sell beats or make money off anything low key, as long as you do the steps. And if it fails, like redo it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, amen. Yeah, I mean, breaking even is pretty amazing, like you said, and that is an important point. Like, because you didn't really break even, you gained thousands of emails for no cost.
Exactly.
In the net at the end, like, yeah, you put up money and you got it back, and you have a big ass email list that you continue to make money off of.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely good to look at the whole picture like that.
That shows you. That's why mindset is important, man.
Mm-hmm.
Without that, I mean, what do you really got? But everything else, like I would rely on the unseen forces. Is kind of how I put it. You know, like you don't gotta be religious, but you know, things happen in sync. If you think of music, even, you know, like why are chords so amazing? Because it's just the universe at work. You know, 1 through 10. You know, it's the same number over and over. You got the keys over and over. You know, so it's kind of like positive stuff, man, and being confident, you know, like relying on the unseen forces, as I say, but, you know, actually doing the work. That's super important.
Yeah,
totally.
So you got in, you know, early with MIDI money and that whole operation.
Yeah,
that
I got it.
Growing,
yeah.
It keeps getting bigger. You know, you hear more and more people talking about it, see the ads everywhere. You know, what was it like, you know, kind of making that jump like really early on before everybody else knew about it and had heard about it and seen the ads?
I just I saw an ad and I just kind of did it. Just because I knew it was possible, man. Like, I just knew it's possible. I get it. I've sold beats, you know, like kind of off the whim too. But their process made sense. You know, with any what they were doing, you can do it with any business. You know, you have a lead. I need your email, so let me give you like a free, you know, 8-day trial to Netflix or whatever it is, right? Same kind of situation. So it was cool though, because I met a lot of people, bro, that like were like-minded. That was different to me. You know, I'm from Centralia. Like nobody out here does what I'm trying to do.
Washington, for anybody wondering.
Yes, yeah. It's a small town. It's in between Seattle and Portland. And, you know, I didn't really have nobody to collab with out here. Like, I've met a handful of people. Actually, you know, I got a crazy story. One artist that I've known for years, bro, and he sent me his music for years. And the cool thing that I respect about him is, so I would tell him he wasn't good because he wasn't good, but I wasn't saying it to be mean. You know, I'm like, here's why. And it was like that for years. So the past year, maybe 2 years now, he's been pretty hot. So he had sent me his vocals to make beats to, right? So he's like, yo, I have these beats from YouTube, but I'd rather you like take my vocals and make beats. So I'm like, cool. So I did like a handful and they're super tight. He's from Centralia, right? So I'm like, they're tight. I mean, they're not doing crazy numbers or nothing, but what's cool about it is that this guy invited me to a Baby Bash show in Yakima, because, you know, he's over there or whatever, like right now. And so he got cool with the DJ and they're like really close friends, you know, been friends for a minute, I guess. And so this happened a while ago. So recently he hit me up and he sent me this hook and he was like, hey, can you make a beat to this? I'm like, yeah, you know, whatever. at this point, I'm, to me, it's nothing because I'm like, worst case scenario, I could just take this beat, put it on my store. It's a tight beat.
Yeah.
I have no problem giving people free beats, because I'm like, what's the worst that's gonna happen? I'm gonna get jacked and we'll figure it out,
Yeah.
So sent him this beat. He did the hook, and so it comes back with a Baby Bash verse and his artist, and he's like, this is the song that they did, it's tight. I'm like, yo, this is crazy, and so I was able to mix it for him, and he's been kind of doing artwork on the side, so he was able to do the artwork for them. So it was kind of like value, it comes back to that value. These guys ended up calling him excited about the record, and it's the little things. I'm like, man, I kept telling this dude, yeah, he wasn't that good, but keep going. This is why I do this, and this, and he did, and then he got this plug in, and it helped me out in a sense. So I'm like, man, I never expected a return, but even that little return, I'm like, that's cool. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. Persistence and taking that constructive criticism, not getting butthurt, coming back better every time, and coming back for more criticism. That's like the sign of a somebody who's dedicated, man. And I feel you, man. It's and taking somebody, from your town. I think that's like a lot of folks, feel kind of isolated. Maybe they're in a small market. Maybe there's not a big community around them, or they haven't learned to tap into it yet. But if you find somebody in your area that has potential and that you vibe with, like, keep putting that work in with them, like see how you can build that, see how you can grow over time. Cause sometimes those are the best relationships.
Yeah. And you never know, just like you had just said earlier about how it's that song that you don't expect, I never, and it's a sick song. I'm not expecting nothing crazy with this Baby Bash, but I'm like, now I'm going to Cali or whatever in like late June. I'm like, I'm with that, it's the little things where I'm like, dude, whatever. I'll be in a Baby Bash video. Like it's kind of late, but I'm happy about it. I'm like, this is, hometown. Just like you said, I did not expect this. I did not expect none of that. It's just love.
Yeah.
Super cool, man. I was curious, what's been inspiring you most recently? Like, where's your head been at as far as like, musically, anything you're doing within the DAW that you're excited about, plugins, techniques, whatever, or if you've been more fixated on the business and just songwriting, artist development, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Just curious to hear a bit more of like where your head's at in the present moment and what you're working on.
Cool. Presently, I'm trying to songwrite. Like, I'm trying to build these songs, like pretty much a demo record, because I do them for myself. I guess I do songs all the time. But now I'm like, man, I would love to give somebody a song, like, why not? Best case scenario, it could go off. And so, like, I've been really trying to study popular music and trying to understand why it works the way it works. I'm sure you guys have seen a YouTube video with all them hit songs lined up in a DAW and, they're perfect. Like, I'm not trying to do it like that. But, as long as you build and then I find a way to get to it quickly, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm trying to songwrite and maybe not write a hit, but kind of. I feel like, I like to make money on music, but I want to try something else. Like, what if I actually write a decent song and it gets picked up by somebody, or not? Worst case scenario, I have a good song for me. It could be like a song for me. Who knows? But
yeah,
I'm really into that.
I like that. I really like working with writers who are open to the possibilities. Like, oh yeah, man, if you got a good opportunity to pitch it to somebody major, let's pitch it. If they don't pick it up, we got any indie artists that are dope that would kill this. If not, hey, you're the writer, you can sing. Let's just put the record out eventually. And I like when things can be open like that, because then you feel like, all right, this time I'm putting in is building something for sure. I'm building a relationship with this writer. I'm building the catalog. I'm building my demo reel. I'm building, and there's a very good possibility when we're not rigid on what it has to be, that this is going to be a release to be an actual, catalog in the world, on our Spotify, on a playlist in the real world that people can go actually listen to it. But what do you do? Oh, well, all this.
Yeah, it's crazy because like music, like I said, it's kind of that thing that I do when I want to, and it turns out kind of being everyday, give or take. But really, so I'm trying to really go hard in real estate just because my goal is to have like a rental property that's a multifamily.
Mhm.
But I realize that, dude, it's kind of expensive. So I've been trying to get the cash to get into that, you know? So the only reason why I haven't really been doing the ads and stuff is because I've been putting money away, you know, to really go deep, you know, because I would love, that's really always, that's been my dream, dude, for years, is to like be a real estate guy and just live and do whatever I want, like make music and hit up theme parks. Like that's really my why. I want to hit all the theme parks, you know, I want to hit all the studios I want to hit up. I want to like play them keyboards, you know what I mean? And so to me, I'm like, to own like real estate or whatever would be my safest bet of living happy, you know, that way I can give back, right? If I actually got money, crazy money coming in. Cause like right now the money's good, but you know, I still got to put it away, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Man, that's dope goals, man. You know, I definitely see you on Facebook, you know, talking about, you know, kind of financial literacy and, you know, and investing and things like that. Like what, you know, for say a producer that's starting to make a little bit of money and wants to reinvest it, like where would you recommend like some baby steps for starting to save up, starting to invest would be?
If you're trying to invest and you don't have a lot of money, just do just buy the S&P. The S&P is the safest bet. It's not super volatile. It's a savings account that you won't trip about. That's how I see it. Like worst case scenario, you put some money away and the market was terrible that year. But that's kind of a great thing if you're always adding money into it because you will see a new high. But if you got like some money to spend, like if you're a producer making some money, I love investing. Like, I like to stay cash just because I've lost. Like in the beginning, I lost like 50% of my cash. It's like not hit and sell, pretty much. You know. Now I'm like, hit the sell button, keep your cash, hold on to it. Like taxes, whatever, dude. If you're doing like 15% on your portfolio a year, you don't really gotta worry too much. It's not like unless you have like $1 million, you made a ton of money. But like when you're starting out, like 15% on 10 G's, it's not gonna like kill your tax bill. You know what I mean? So crypto, dude, right now at Bitcoin, big money is officially involved, bro. You know, you got Goldman Sachs with them leaked documents talking about Ethereum to 18 G's. I'm like, I don't know. Don't go all in, but why not? You know? It's work. 2020 was an opportunity for everybody. Whoever didn't jump in, it was a missed opportunity with everything so low anywhere,
Man, I think the opportunity is going to keep coming, whether it's crypto or whether it's whatever, real estate, like you were talking about, whatever. Just takes like staying open to that and keeping that like entrepreneurial mindset. Like the common theme I'm noticing here, regardless of like all these, it seems like you're doing your research and you're curious and you're like diving into all of these avenues. And it seems like from a really early age, you like grasp that concept. And it's not something you see often where people have both that business side and the creative side. It's usually it's the creative side and they're like, shit, I have to learn business. But yeah, like, do you feel like you always had that? Was that just like from 16, you just like immediately hit it with the hustle? Or
so my dad owns he has 4 Mexican restaurants, right? So really that's probably where it came from, seeing my dad, we were only like hurting like when I was young, really once I was in kindergarten, we were straight. Like I wasn't really worrying about, being with my aunt in LA and stuff. Like that was early. So I do give credit to some of that. And so not everybody has that, but a lot of it has to do with my idols, though, when I was early. Like, who was I looking up to? 50 Cent, Jay-Z. It was things like that to me. And I was like, even Tupac, Tupac was really the reason why I got into music. And he was dropping game, And as a 10-year-old kid, like, I remember he has this interview where he was like, I'm not saying I can change the world, but I might tap into the mind that will change the world. And I remember being a kid and being like, wow, dude, what if he's talking to me? Being naive. And so the small things like that, it just depends on who you idolize when you're young too, who you look up to. I had a brother who was always like working, getting money too. And so to me, it just made sense. I'm like, I've been, in the position where like I was living with my moms and like there's not a lot of money moving. And so she wasn't born with that, instinct. So yeah, I do owe a lot of it to my dad's side, where, you know, we were just kind of always hustling and stuff. But yeah, who you idolize too, like 50 Cent, you know, talking about making all this money, and, you know, Jay-Z talking about ownership, you know, from when I was young. And to me, it made sense when I seen Ryan Leslie. That set me off, bro, because I was like, oh wow, you can create music, make beats, write songs by yourself. You don't need somebody to run so I can figure out the computer, you know. So it was crazy, just those kind of things. It just meant it was real, that you could do it by yourself. I'm like, yeah, he's famous, but I'm already making beats anyways. Now I need to buy a mic that I can really, that mic. So I ended up buying the TM103, you know, and it's just like, it just is what it is, man. It depends on who you look up to.
Totally. Yeah. Hip hop's got a very like tight connection with, you know, hustling and making your money and stuff. It feels like in every other genre, it's like people are kind of timid about it. It's like kind of rude to ask, whereas like hip hop's just very upfront with it. Yeah. So I could totally see that. But yeah, even still, I feel like some people just don't got it like that. So it's awesome that you had that instilled from really early age.
And it also seems like there's a lot of facets of your life that have contributed to this entrepreneurial mindset. You know, your dad's running all these Mexican restaurants. You got a brother that's hustling. You yourself have dove into a lot of different like entrepreneurial endeavors as well. And so I was wondering, like, between seeing all of those and doing a lot of them yourself, are there any like macro level concepts that you found to be really integral to success in any of these entrepreneurial ventures that have been a common thread, that have been like, you know, a good teaching, that if, you know, someone was coming up trying to sell beats, or someone was coming up and trying to sell real estate, you could give as advice to them?
Value, honestly, because everything is a people business. It don't matter what you're in, everything is a people business. So like in real estate, let's say like I'm on a call and I got a seller talking about, you know, so right now I can give you a perfect example. There's a seller here in Centralia who is literally, she's about to go into bankruptcy. Like, she's like, pretty much, you know, I've taken this L, you know, I got the foreclosure already coming. I'm just going to do the bankruptcy, so the house is out of my name, like, no big. And I'm like, okay, or check this out. I could take over the mortgage. I know it's behind this much and blah, blah, blah. And now I'm not paying 290 G's for this house. I could pay like 20 G's for this house to take over the house, put it under my name, but, you know, still be able to help her out. She's building her credit. And then if I decide to sell the house, she gets paid, you know. To me, like, even telling her that, like, now she might go ahead and tell somebody else, hey, you know, this guy said 20 G's. If you give me 50 and do this, it's not 290. But to me, I'm like, you know, she trusts me now. So value is, everything's a people business, you know. Same thing with beats, you know, when producers hit me up, you know, about anything, it's like, I would like to give them like actual advice versus, you know, try your best and whatever, you know. I'd be like, oh, okay, you want your mixes to sound good? You know, well, how you mixing? You know, find out the problem and then give them solutions according to the problem. So, yeah, if you use that in every business, dude, that's really how it is. Solving problems, I feel like, even in the restaurant business, because, like, so I right now am managing a restaurant in Morton, right, over here at my dad's. But we were, I don't want to say like stagnant, but kind of like we hadn't added new items to the menu. And like everybody's gotten really comfortable in my eyes. So I'm like, you know, what are we missing? You know, oh, and it's the simple things. You just have to start to look around and, you know, ask the questions. You know, people have asked for this. You know, shrimp with blah, blah, blah. Okay, why don't we just do it? You know, what's wrong with it? It's like, you know, so that's what I'm saying. Everything's a people business. So if you listen to the people and just be yourself, be okay to talk to people. Like, confrontation is cool as long as you can control your tonality. That's how you can, you know, confrontation is a blessing, bro. I feel like if you can really confront problems but use your tones to work it out and not escalate, it's a win. You know?
Absolutely. I think that a lot of what you're saying is so true. And especially that last bit, like confrontation to a side of like a good, like, understanding at the end of that conversation. That's a lost skill for a lot of people these days. Like, you have confrontation with someone that instantly it's like, I can't be friends with you. when did that happen? Like people used to have fist fights and then like get up off the ground, shake the dust off, and like shake their hand and be like, "Yeah, man, you beat the shit out of me. Good fight." Like that's okay. That's how it should be. Like you should be able to disagree with someone on like a fundamental level, each speak your point, and then be like, "Okay, I still don't hate you. We think of it differently." But like, you know, I learned something about like why you think this. Like nowadays, like we've become so divisive that it's really hard for people to find a middle ground at the end of the day where they can still be okay with that person. And that is all coming back to the core of what you just said. Like it's a people business. You need to learn extraordinary people skills to become an extraordinary artist, an extraordinary real estate agent. It doesn't matter. You hear stories of like Beyonce or Rihanna or whatever, anyone that's interacted with them just says how nice they are, how great of a person they are. You know, obviously there's exceptions, but like for someone to build a team big enough to be as successful as one of those like super top tier level artists are, you actually do have to have incredible people skills to run that team, to help get the best out of everyone on that team. And so I'm really glad that you gave that answer because it couldn't be more true. I wanna back up a little bit back to like when you were 16 making beats, and did you at the time did you know that this was going to be something that you were going to pursue for like making money through? And B, is there anything that you did then that you felt like was critical to your success or that you would have done better or differently?
So I kind of always knew, like, and I know where I'm going. And so since I was young, I kind of knew I discovered Tupac and realized, okay, rap is cool. And then, you know, just all them steps, you realize, okay, I want to be involved in music somehow. But then the older I got, the more I realized you can do more than one thing, you know, as long as you can have the systems in place, right? Like, you don't got to go crazy. But even, like I said, having a VA was life-changing to me because I'm like, dude, now I got my Instagram DMs locked in and my emails locked in. And that was like majority of my headache. So now I can go ahead and like at least try to find some deals or do something, you know, or even wake up early now. You know, now I can wake up early instead of staying up late at night worrying about email. I got somebody taking care of that, you know? And so it's a lot of work, dude, but it's doable. You know what I mean?
Totally. I'm curious from the production side, what kind of tools you're using, what DAW are you in, any notable equipment you use, all that.
FL Studio is where I started. I'm on Machine now, dude. I've been on Machine for a couple years, maybe even 5 years at this point.
Okay.
I've been on FL Studio on and off. Like I still use it maybe once every couple months, like because Machine does have some small things that I don't like versus FL. Like my 808 bends are crazy in FL Studio.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I'll do like
code in FL. That's they set that up right.
For real. So it's the small things like that. But pretty much I'm in Machine. That's where I build most of my ideas. And then so I might take it to FL to add like effects or boom, boom. And then I always put it in Pro Tools. And that's like where the music happens, you know?
Yeah, I was about to ask. That was going to be my follow-up to that. Like, all right, Machine is super dope, but from everybody who uses Machine that I've talked to, they're like, man, it's like the most amazing for starting ideas and getting through them real fast, but it's not necessarily the tool to finish the audio, do the little detail work in the mix. And so it makes sense that you would bring everything into Pro Tools once you like do the track outs out of Machine. And
yeah, well, now with the update on the software with clips, that changed the game a little bit for sequencing on the Machine because now you can do sequencing a lot better where you'll have like a drop where it's just a percussion in the melody before you go into the big one. And it's kind of like you used to not be able to do that. You would have to build a whole different scene and do that, you know? And so there have been updates and I'm hopeful on Machine. I really do believe that they have enough to build a DAW. I don't know why they haven't built a DAW yet. Like, bro, you guys have the audio interface, the complete control, the Machine. Now you guys just need a mic, you know, and you build a DAW, like you got a whole studio. So I'm hopeful on Machine though. That's really why I haven't, like, I dabbled into Ableton, but it just wasn't for me. You know what I mean? Like, it just wasn't for me. So I stuck with machine. But I'm really hoping, I'm sticking to it just because I'm like, I do believe that machine has what it takes, you know what I mean, to really go in. So hopefully they do a DAW soon. If not, I'm okay with just doing it. You know, I love the machine because it's not a bunch of clicking. That's why I left FL. I'm like, I want to like be able to feel like I'm making music and, you know, not feel like I'm cheating. And so that's kind of what it did, you know, like I'll have pretty much almost every time I make a beat, you know, all my screens will turn off because like I'm not clicking nothing. I'm over here on the machine and, you know, boom, boom. And I love that, you know, I love that every time because I'm like, sweet, that's the point, right?
Nice, that's tight. So you're like performing most of your stuff then?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 90% of my beats are, you know, just using the machine. You know,
man, I'm realizing now how much I've moved away from that, especially lately. Just like all clicking it in on MIDI, like it does kind of make it dry sometimes to be real, but you know, it's like it's the trade-off between like the workflow efficiency part of it and the creative like free flowing part of it. Like I definitely find every time, you know, you get out of the habit of like using the pads. And then you see like how far off your MIDI is. You're like,
yeah,
I'm so bad at this.
Well,
yeah. And my melodies were not that good for a while too. Like, they were good, and then they weren't. And I was like, oh, I know what's going on here. You know what I mean? Like, you can get rusty in one day, and I'm over here taking like 2 weeks off of the keys.
Yeah.
You know? So machine saved it.
Do you play the melodies in on the machine too? Like, are they all?
Nah, I have the complete control. I usually play keys over here. Yeah, I always do drums though, right? The machine always do drums, but yeah, I love the keyboard just because, you know, dude, it's crazy because I've always imagined that, like, since back in the day where, you know, I can't wait till they did have the one Nico board a while ago that was like VSTs built into a board. But I was always like, I can't wait for the day that you have a production station like a motif where you can go through sounds, but it's VST. You know, or you know, all the sound banks, and it's here, you know, it's complete, you know. So I love my keyboard, bro. That's where I'm at with it.
You ever you see the stuff that Rolly's been putting out, like the C-board and the Rolly like drum block pad thing?
Yeah, I wanted to get one, but I never did. I never pulled the trigger on that.
Man,
the C-board looks tight.
Yeah.
Yeah, that stuff is crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool innovations, but you know, there's nothing wrong with sticking to the classics, man. Like drum pads and keys have stood the test of time for a reason, man. You know, they've been, you know, keys since who knows when, like 1700s or whatever. I don't know when they invented the piano or the harpsichord or whatever. And drum pads, man, you know, drum pads been around since what, like the 70s or 80s probably. So like, man, you know, tried and true, man. Nothing wrong with sticking with what works for you either. You know, as much as we all like to try and innovate and find the new things, man. If you got a good workflow,
and I think that's pushing, really right? It too. Is like if you're listening to this and you're like, oh man, I don't play enough of my drums in by hand, or I don't do enough. Like, you just pick your spots. Like for me, like I've never played drums in by hand, but I'll play the guitar parts, and you know, like. And I know that if I'm not playing the drums in by hand, that I actually got to go in there and do the work to make it sound like it's not all quantized and shitty. You got to like fade the hi-hats differently and different detunes and volumes and make sure everything's sounded natural. But you just got to figure out like how do you like to do it? Like drums for me, I don't want to say they're an afterthought, but they do, like kick snare comes pretty early, but like the hi-hats and stuff, that comes after I've got the riff. That comes after I've got the bass groove. That comes after everything. And so for me, it's not like musically determinative, if that's definitely a term. Sure. That's definitely a term.
I knew what you meant.
I just got my second
COVID
vaccine shot today. My brain's a little mush, I guess. Woo!
It's okay. You'll be back tomorrow once you connect.
Get your shots, 5G. People. Yeah. Oh my god. But yeah, like just find out how you like to do it yourself. Like what feels natural for you, what step of the process might be a good opportunity for you to play it yourself or add some humanization, and then just know how you like to do it and how you can still get to a human feel from what you're doing. You know?
Yeah.
I'm curious to know, like, what's your beat making process? Do you like stick with a pretty similar formula when you're approaching different beats? Do you like to start with certain things first? Are you all over the place?
I have I have like two for sure ways I make beats. So when I'm feeling like, man, I got like no juice, which is low key my favorite, not like no juice, that's not how I feel, but I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. What I'll usually do is I'll build some crazy drums. Like, when I say crazy, they're not like, it's not a bunch, but some nice swing and whatever. But then I'll try to play keys according to like the key of the drums in a sense,
Yeah.
And so I've had some crazy chords where I was like going from like a G to a G sharp, but doing a whole, so I have that way, right? Where I'll try to match the keys with the key of the drums in a sense. Like, there is a key to it,
Yeah.
And
absolutely. Drums are tuned.
Yeah, 100%. And so that's one way. But the other way, I like to do the melody first. I love to do the melody first, honestly. Because like you guys said, like, drums are easy, man. Anybody could really make drums slap. Turn up your snares. That's my big thing. Like, when people say, my drums don't snap, then turn up your snares. Like, I'm okay with letting my snares peak. You know what I mean? My kicks, not really. But like my snares, I'll let them peak. I've had records I love that I feel like their snare snaps. And so I'm like, why not? If it's snapping and as long as it's not sounding distorted, like, whatever.
Besides, distortion is dope, man. Like, that's that's the real process. It's not making nothing distort. It's making the distortions nice.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like mastering anyways, right? Like, it clips everything. Everything gets clipped off when you master it. It's hitting the ceiling for sure. It's just like, the mixing process is making all the shit sound nice so that when you clip it all off in the mastering process, it's a pleasant clip instead of a nasty clip.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's like a phase I feel like I definitely went through, and I noticed with students too. Like, there's just a definite phase in the journey, I feel, where people don't fully understand saturation and distortion and all these things, and they'll write these songs where all these core components are pretty good, but they just, like, to me it always feels like it just like slides off your eardrums because it's just like too clean and too precise and too just it doesn't have that grit to it that you get with, like, I mean, stuff that's sampled gets it. You get that little bit of noise and stuff. It kind of like crunches up the high end. But mainly when you're just like, clipping stuff, especially for your drums, like, I feel you on the snares. Like, I like to do it to my kicks too. But like, you want your drums to smack and feel like they're up front in the mix. Well, I mean, shit, just turn them up and make them one of the louder things, and then just clip off any excess you don't need. And it's like a guaranteed way. I kind of forget where I was going with that. I know I had a
slash
point.
Real quick, like throwing everything else that's getting in the way of that snare into a group. Just turn that other group down. Like, make an instrument bus and just turn it down by like 5 decibels. Now your snare snaps. If that's not doing it quite, throw a better side chain, a stronger side chain compressor on that whole group, and now the snare just snaps everything out of the way.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, totally. Like, we had a couple weeks ago, we had a dude named Hexus on, and he was talking about exactly that. He's like, man, like, leveling and EQ is like 95% of the mix process. If you can really understand those two things super well and really know, like, oh, like, the reason that isn't working is because this level is off, or the reason that isn't working is because it has this frequency it doesn't need. Just re-level that shit, cut that shit out, and all of a sudden your mix is snapping, even if you don't know all the craziest, most expensive tools or the extra little sauce to throw on top of it from that expensive plugin. It doesn't matter how many of those plugins you pour it on if your leveling and your EQ are bad underneath it.
Yeah, so as a kid, bro, since I was 16, because I had a mic, like I said, I seen that Ryan Leslie video. So let me tell you a little story. So when I was young and I was making this money, the reason why I went so hard to sell beats, right? So listen, I guess looking back, it kind of rolled into my adult life too. Like, I've never asked for nothing from people. I just, So when I was around 16, I asked my dad, I'm like, hey, check this out. I want to build a studio. I know he got bread. So I'm like, if you can help me out. So he's like, if you can come up with half, I'll give you the other half. So I was like, okay, cool. That's cool. All right. So I was on SoundClick. At this point, I was already kind of making a little bit of money. I learned how to do the PayPal buttons and blah, blah, blah. So I had saved my half. And I tell my pops, I'm like, hey, check this out. I got this money. And he's like, why are you going to spend your money? You know, all this stuff and blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, all right. So I didn't get the half. So I was so determined it was like $2,000 was the other. Well, the total was 2,200 or something, right? For me, that was a big deal. Dude, it took me like 2 weeks to make this money because I was like so like not mad, but I was so driven by that. I was like, wow, like I think he thought it was a phase or something. And so the day I went, so I had sent a Western Union to Z-Zounds or whatever, I think at the time, or one of them companies. And so I went with my mom because I needed, you know, a signature. And she was so serious. She's like, you know, what are you doing kind of stuff? And I'm like, dude, I've told you what I'm doing. Like, I'm literally, you know, in the living room making beats on the computer. And she's like, you better not be doing nothing bad, blah, 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 blah. And I'm over here like, bruh, like, okay. That's how I knew. I was like, you know, I'm doing okay, Mom. I'm thinking I'm doing something wrong. Probably thinking I'm selling drugs or something, you know? And so that
crack music
that matters. I feel like people, you know, people talking and doubting you, bro, is fire, man. Like when people do a lot of my career, I've had people tell me you got to be either an artist or a producer. You got to pick this or that. And I feel like I've been steady, just living a great, like not over crazy life because my life's not super crazy. You know, I can handle everything. I do sleep, you know, like I used to not sleep low key.
Yeah.
I sleep
Tried
now.
that for a while too.
You know?
Teach me.
Yeah, man.
Teach me.
That's the glow up is I can sleep now.
Yeah,
It's not the
straight.
mansion, it's not the Lambo. It's I get a full 8 hours.
Yeah. I get a good 6. It's crazy because to me, like if I get under 4, I'll be upset. But to me, it's the crazy like 6. I'm still a little groggy, but that's just what my life is in the morning. If I sleep 4 hours, I'm gold, bro. It is the weirdest thing. Like 4 hours to me is like the perfect time where I feel like I don't get super tired throughout the day. In the morning, I'm like happy and just like, let's, you know, do the day. And so, but I do 6 just because I'm like, can't be healthy, right? I could be wrong, though. It might, who cares?
No,
But
I
we're
think
humans,
it's pretty
you know?
bad. I think 6 is even pretty bad, but
Yeah, you think? Yeah, I don't know. To me, I feel like it might be bad if we really believe it's bad. It's going to kill us. But if I'm like, bruh, I'm like solid, man. I think I'll be all right. I could be wrong, but I feel like attitude might bring that too, you know? Like,
I don't know. I watched the sleep dude on Joe Rogan. It scared me straight into getting some
No
more
shit.
hours.
oh, damn.
He like had a bit where he was talking about like well, 2 notable points of it. He basically described wakefulness as low level continuous brain damage, and we like really need sleep to recover from that, and we technically can't make it up over long stretches of time. But he was also talking about how like for daylight savings time every year when they roll the clock forward and people lose an hour of sleep, heart attack rates across the world go up like 30% type shit.
Oh, that's a lot, bro.
There's some like real crazy stuff on the sleep thing, you know. And I just saw that one Joe Rogan episode, so I'm not no expert, but this dude studies sleep and he seems like he knows what he's talking about. So
yeah, you know I'm gonna need to check that out, but I'm like, woo.
Yeah, ignorance is bliss, kind of low key, but once you know.
Dude, the funny part is like I
Yeah,
agree with you though, man. Like if I get 5 hours, if I get 6 hours, if I get 8 hours, I wake up in the morning, I pretty much feel the same. Unless I'm able to like blissfully sleep and not wake up with an alarm clock and just like I open my eyes, it's 7 o'clock, I feel good, I get out of bed. That doesn't fucking happen like ever. Like once every 2-3 months. But like when that happens, that is the rare occasion where I'm like, no, I actually feel pretty good. Otherwise, it doesn't matter how much I sleep. I just don't like getting up in the morning. My human is just like,
amen.
Take it or leave it. You can get out of bed or not. And so I'm like, all right, just get out of bed, you asshole. And then like 5, 6, 8, it doesn't matter. Like I feel the same amount of groggy until I have coffee. So then like for a while, like, you know, I was sleeping like 5, 6 hours a night. Now I try to get more than that, but it's like, does it help? I don't know. I don't feel any better. But like
me,
the science is saying different. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I guess it depends on your goals, man. Like to me, I'm like, my happiness, if I slept 8 hours a day, I don't know if I'd be happy with myself. You know what I mean? Just internally, not because I'm like, oh, team no sleep. I actually hate that. I low-key hate rap culture. Low-key. Like, I really do. I hate, all the spending money on chains, all the trying to flash. I absolutely hate that about rap. Like, it's the worst part because I'm like, dude, it's toxic. You know what I mean? Like, if rap culture was about everything else, like every other person does, like invest your money, don't lose your money. Let's multiply it, let's figure that out. Then it would just be a crazy game. Maybe rap wouldn't be what it is, though, right?
That's such a funny concept that like rap music like kind of is like an extended arm of consumerism. Like buy more diamonds and chains, buy more cars.
Yeah.
Hikey, my homie Latney dropped a song recently that's doing decent that's called Digital Money. And it's like, sounds like a trap song, feels like a trap song. It's got the cadences, the attitude, the beat. It's all right there. But you listen to the lyrics and he's talking about investing in cryptocurrency.
Nice.
It's like, and he's like, he's like talking about how, oh yeah, your other, even down to the like, oh, that other dude you're talking to ain't nothing like me. He ain't got it like me. He ain't investing. He ain't smart. It's like, I love the subtle flip of it all. But like, just like, trap music for the 2021, healthy financial mentality. I dig that shit.
Yeah,
I feel like it's slowly catching on. Like, you got, you had Nipsey, rest in peace, who was like really pushing that, and I'm seeing like these younger kids coming up and like actually thinking about real estate. I know, like, I don't know how deep you are into crypto, but BitBoy, who's like a huge crypto, reporter, whatever, analyzer dude, just collabed with Lil Yachty the other day, and they were like talking about his portfolio. Just random shit like that, where I'm like, everybody's like slowly getting a little more hip. I think it's just like the status degenerate party fun side of things. Just be like, yeah, look at this flashy shit I got. And like, obviously, for people that were in a position where they were struggling and they came up, it's like, it's a very visible sign of I made it. So I understand it from that point, but it's also tight to see, people waking up to that and like finding other means to make money and invest in their career. Like, how much more feasible it becomes to have a music career when you like properly register your business, write off your expenses, put that money into investments and let it make more money for you. It's wild, like how much easier it becomes to do all of this shit legit. And like that was really what made it click for me personally. Like all the years of like people being like, it's not possible, like you can't do it, it's a pipe dream, realizing like, oh, yo, all this shit is an expense that you can claim. And, I can write off this guitar I just bought, or I can write off this DAW or whatever.
Your marketing, bro. Marketing, I feel like is the best
too.
expense to write down.
Amen.
Yeah, dude. If you guys got QuickBooks, it's the simplest thing, bro. You literally take a picture of any receipt on the computer, whatever, and it'll just put it in there. So that way, QuickBooks. So that way, at the end of the year, if you do it on TurboTax, it automatically syncs it, bro. It's
you're telling me I can write off every dollar I spend on advertising on Facebook?
Yeah,
most of it.
That modular.
After a certain point, it doesn't really change your tax bill too crazy, but it does, bro.
I mean, that's so funny because it's so fucking obvious to hear you say that. Like, I wrote off the guitar that I bought, the interface, the computer, like annual depreciation on all that shit too. But God, like I didn't even think ad money.
Oh yeah, marketing easy.
God damn, I'm learning stuff today. I love this. Now the question on everyone's mind:
Man,
what crypto is in Lil Yachty's portfolio? Gotta know,
right?
I mean, yeah, the video's up there.
No, honestly, it's so funny though, because all it would take is one dude, could be Lil Yachty, I don't know, to be like, yeah, you see this chain? I bought it with the money that I got from buying Bitcoin 2 years ago. Let's go. Like
He's like 99% shitcoin, baby. All
Dude,
in on the
moon,
portfolio.
safe moon.
You should though. I mean, like, let me tell you the truth, bro. So I bought Doge when it was fucking a third of a penny in November. I only put $100. So I had $8,000 around like April, and I pulled, bro. Like, sure, I didn't make what I could have. I could have made like 12 racks, but I'm like,
you did well,
dude. I'm taking my kids to Orlando here like next month.
Go.
I'm like, exactly. I'm like, yo, this is what it's about, man. Like, yeah, I still got money like put away, but I'm like, I need to take profits at some point, yo. Like, I have it sitting in cash, and I'm like, I got to spend some of that money, you know.
If you put $100,
man, I'm glad to hear about that.
If you put $100 and it turned into $8,000, goddamn, I hope you're going to a theme park,
dude,
or something.
It was bananas.
That's what life's about. You made a good decision. You stuck to your guns. You didn't sell it early. You sold it for a gigantic profit, and you deserve to go to a goddamn theme park with that money.
Right, I agree. I'm like, man, and I have that problem though, where, like I said, I just hold on to that cash just because I really do want to like be rich, pretty much, right? But I'm like, man, at some point I gotta enjoy this money instead of like always trying to like get this money. And I kick it with my kids, but we don't go on crazy vacations. I'll go on like one vacation a year to Mexico, and that's it. But I almost do that like religiously, just because I know if I don't, like, I don't know, man, I'll stick to the work because I love it.
Do you feel like it's hard for you to break out of that cycle once you're into it? Like, you're just always hyper focused on it?
Yeah, just because, like I said, I love it, like, to me, that excites me. Like, when I'm talking to my girlfriend, I talk to her about that stuff, and she'll hear me out because she knows, like, even that's a part of the process, like telling you and then getting excited about that and thinking of something else, So, yeah.
Man, one thing I was thinking about earlier when you were talking about like charting on SoundClick and stuff, and working with other rappers and stuff. I'm curious, has like feedback from charting and stuff like that influence your sound today? Is there like stuff that you picked up back then when you were trying to chart and work with these artists that you've still carried through, or do you feel like your style is pretty fluid and you're kind of going off like whatever vibe you're feeling in the moment?
The rule is pretty much, if it's not tight right away, like, don't put it out. Because you know how they say there's a 5-second rule. There's no, like, honestly, it's right away. You have a split second. You know what I mean? At least that's how I am, bro. Like, when I'm looking through music, if it don't catch me right away, that doesn't mean it has to be hype. It just means it has to be good. So if it don't catch me right away, then to me, I'm like, why am I wasting my time on this, right? Like, there's so many records I love that I can get to. And so when you discover a great record, bro, when you know. So that's why I say that. Even going back, like, I remember hearing Drake on MySpace, bro. And so I went to that page because I heard about him. I'm like, oh, he raps. And so I remember going I was a kid, bro, so I had a bad attitude, right? I was going to the page to be like, oh my God, I can't wait to hear this kid rap. It's going to be so funny. And literally, I fell in love, bro. I'll never forget it, And so I was waiting on So Far Gone to come out at midnight, And that just one of those things that just tells you, like, when you know. You don't gotta like calculate it. It's like a hot girl. Like, you don't gotta calculate if she's a hot girl. When you know.
Yeah.
So that's the same thing with like everything with a good ad, with music. So it's just like, if it's not tight, it's not tight. Like, if you don't have a good input, you can't have a good output.
Man, well put. It's a great analogy.
For sure.
Yeah, man, that instant grab, it's like I've heard stories of like people having gone to like record label meetings and stuff, and the record exec will listen to like the first like 20 seconds of the song and start skipping through the CD, and they're all mad, like, nah, man, you gotta like listen to the whole 5 minutes of my tune to really understand the blah blah blah, and you're but like, that record label dude is like, if I'm skipping it, other people would skip it. Like, if I want to cut the radio already, they will. Like, if it doesn't grab you, if the intro doesn't grab you, and then it doesn't keep you, and then it doesn't bring you along for a journey on a story, is that song, what's it doing? Like, there's so much music. 40,000 tracks a day hit Spotify. If yours doesn't stand out in that noise,
whatever then, right?
yeah.
Like
Why
that's
it out? If it doesn't catch somebody, some audience, for some reason, what's the point?
100%, bro. 100%. Like if it's not, if it don't grab you right away, when you know, it's like a hot girl. A good song's a good song. You know, you don't gotta like. It's kind of like I'm not a fan of Tech Nine, right? But I know he's a great rapper, right? It's one of those things like when you know, you know. So I wouldn't. I don't really try to stick to genres and stuff. I like kind of like to do what I like to do. Like right now, I'm trying to drop some Spanish music for the first time, like ever. You know, I don't know why I've never dropped Spanish music, bro. I mean, I've dabbled in it, but bro, I got some cuts, and I'm like, man, I feel like I'm rediscovering myself too, because I'm like, man, I'm here making these cuts in Spanish, and I'm like, I'm still able to get my bars off, but it's so different because I'm like, I'm speaking Spanish, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And man, you know, aside from just being like dope that you want to do that, it's like also, you know, a highly growing audience and an audience and a type of music that's crossing over to, you know, American mainstream in a way that non-English music never really has had a chance to do in the past, because of the way like streaming and everything works right now, is that shit can blow up because people actually like it instead of because the radio thought it might.
And because the beats, bro, the beats did it too. We're in that era of if the beat slaps, you got a chance. And so that's really where it's at. That's what it comes down to. You know, when you hear it, oh, it slaps. It's tight. It, like I said, it don't have to be hype, but it do got to be really good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another important distinction that I'm glad you brought up again, is the difference between like a lot of people will get caught up in like it needs to like grab people and make them out their chair go nuts, you know, start punching people in the club to be good. But like, nah, man, like sometimes it's just those chords that strike that deep sadness that you've been trying to ignore, but it's like, oh, I'm not the only one that feels that way. And you just sit there like with your eyes closed, like, oh my God, that feeling. I know that feeling. Like that's it too. You know, like Adele records, you know, it's like Adele's got whole albums of that. #1 hits just off sad piano chords.
Exactly. Yeah, bro.
Yeah. I was curious, when you're going more into songwriting stuff, I kind of hate asking these questions because I know it's like very contextual, but do you have a preference as far as like how you go about that process? So like, do you just dig through the beats you already got, and when you're writing it, you kind of know like, all right, this one I'm put vocals to, or do you come up with that vocal theme first and then try to build the beat around that? Or like, are you starting with hook first, verse first? Like, how are you going about actually getting that like emotion and thinking of planning for artists?
So the way I see it, like I usually I almost hear it before I make it, right? So I know what vibe I'm in. So if I'm like, man, I'm about to make something crazy, and when I say that, I kind of know I'm thinking of like a sample with this, and then I'm gonna do something, right? So I always kind of have a general idea of where I'm gonna go. So like the other day, I wanted to do like a ballad / club record, right? So that entitled to that, I'm like, obviously I'm not gonna start with drums. I started with some chords, and then I wrote to those chords, and then I developed the hook to give it that, you know, it has to evolve correctly. You know, you can't. It's tough to build transitions after you wrote. I feel like it should just flow. So it just depends on what you want to create. So like I usually know what I want to do, you know. So earlier, like I said, that one I knew I was gonna do some piano, and then I was gonna write some heartfelt stuff with some not simple words, but you know, those phrases that just grab you. I was like, I know that's how I'm gonna take that, and then the hook's gonna be like not simple, but you know, I want to grab them with this. And bro, you just kind of have to see it. In my opinion, I feel like that's how most of my music is made. Even with like any artist I've worked with, that's why I usually ask them like, how you feeling? You know, like what's up, what's good, what's new? And then I'll you know, he'll tell me something, and okay, cool. So that means my pianos are going to go like this. You know what I mean? So it just depends on the mood. I usually know what I'm going to make though. You know, that is true. Like I usually kind of hear it before I make it, not literally, but almost, you know?
Bet. Yeah, I was just wondering because you know, when you're working with other people, there's always that like loss in communication. And also when you're just like making a shit ton of beats that you're sending out to people and you got such a large catalog, you know, I find you're like trying to hit all these check boxes of like, I need these kind of beats, I need these kind, and you kind of just like start going through the motions. So I find like every once in a while my process gets a little stagnant because I've been falling into those, you know, same kind of routines and stuff. So that's why I was curious from your side, like how you go about the writing process, because you know, even if you got like your baseline, there's ways to like switch up little parts of that process based on like the vibe or whatever. I don't know if I'm describing this clearly, but hopefully you know what I mean. Like,
I feel like it is all a decision, you know. So like, let's say I'm like, if I'm on FL Studio, it's because I'm feeling a certain way, right? And so it's a decision. So it comes down like that to the music you make too. So if you're feeling stagnant or something, or you feel like, man, I haven't made something like this, then make something like that. Then, you know, and that doesn't mean you got to try to retrace your steps, but just fiddle around. I had a beat the other day called like Why Wait, because I was feeling like I want to make a beat, but I literally don't know what I'm going to do. So I pulled up a flute and I just hit record, and like the first 8 bars, I picked the second section because I was like, dude, that's fly. And then I just, you know, built a beat on the fly, and I was like, bro, this beat is fly. So you got to make that decision, you know. You definitely have to be purposeful in your stuff. I know a lot of people say like don't overwork yourself or don't force it, but to me, I just think back of all the times I've forced it and how I've made such dope records doing that. So I'm like the wrong person, right, to talk about forcing music, because I'm like, dude, I feel like when your back's against the wall like that, like why not?
yeah,
you know?
We agree. We agree, man. Like
Totally.
we talk about this a lot on this podcast, you know, bringing up quotes of different famous creatives and talking about how, you know, there's a difference between being a professional and an amateur, and that the amateur will be like, oh, I don't want to force it. I'm here to have fun. But the professional is like, I make beats, or I make music, or I write songs. I'm going to show up today and write a song. It might be my worst song ever. I don't care. I'm going to write the whole damn thing. You know, and like you said, those times where you're like, shit, I don't know what to write. I don't have some divine inspiration hit me with the whole song in my head that I need to get down. It's just like, I don't know. This flute's tight. Jam on it. Oh, that jam's tight. Okay. Ooh, these drums work. Let's keep moving. Like, you never know what you're going to get when you just show up and put in the effort. You know, at the very least, it's like going to the gym on a day you didn't feel that good. Like, at least you sweat a little bit. You worked out, you know, like you might not have lifted the heaviest weight you ever lifted, but who cares? You showed up at the gym today. Same with music. Like, you just got to keep your music muscles fresh. Like, you know, keep them limber, keep them strong by showing up all the time to make them.
Yeah, you get rusty in one day, you know, and like I was watching a Michael Jackson interview, bro, and it kind of like put into perspective about like thinking about what you're gonna do. Like I said, yeah, I usually know what I'm gonna do, but yeah, I'll force myself, because if you just let go, like that day where I just did that flute, it was kind of like I got out of the way of the music, you know, and so that's how Michael Jackson said it. Like sometimes you got to get out of the way of the music and just let the music come into the room. And so I believe in that, you know. That's what I mean, rely on the unseen forces. Like that doesn't mean you gotta be religious, but I mean, dude, magic happens, you know what I mean? In a sense, you call it magic.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting out of the way of the music, you know, getting out of your own way is a big thing. Like, I think, you know, something I've had to learn, and probably for sure I'm still learning, is like letting that ego get out of the room and just like allowing, you know, I feel like that's the same thing like we were just talking about, like with people thinking they really got to make that shit the craziest banger you ever heard, or the most like nuts, you know, oh, I've got to make the craziest drum pattern. And it's like, nah, maybe this song just needed like a kick on the one and a snare on the backbeat, and that's all it needs. Like, not everything needs to be impressive. It might just need to be good, you know. Get out of the way of the music and let it be what it needs to be today.
Absolutely. Let it play its part.
Yeah.
Kind of little side note, but I'm just curious, musically, like, who are the artists that have been inspiring you, either like that have been fundamental to you on your beat building journey. I know you mentioned 50 Cent in them, but also if you have any like newer artists that you've been really feeling, or any like new style, or I'm just curious to see what you're on.
New music. I haven't really heard anything really. Lil Baby, I feel like is the best rapper out right now. I've been feeling like that since maybe a little bit before last year. Lil Baby, I feel like is slept on as far as lyrics go. He is definitely labeled a mumble rapper, but I'm like, bruh, he be going off. But besides that, like I came up on a lot of West Coast stuff, so like Tupac and Dr. Dre. A lot of my early beats were very Dr. Dre. You know, I was battling all the time, and so that was another piece of making my beats kind of have sections. And so that actually developed, that went into my actual music, you know, where I'm like do sections where the verse might be a lot different versus a little different, you know, but it'll still be in the same key. That's major. Yeah, if any producer's watching this, you don't know your minors and your majors, that's honestly, I wouldn't say that's all you need to learn, but dude, once you know that, you can travel across the keyboard and play, you know, it's the same notes over and over again.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Same patterns.
Yep.
Yeah,
so
I tell a lot of my students that. That's good. That's a bar.
Minor and majors.
Your minor and major scales.
It's the simplest thing, dude. As soon as I learned it, if you guys need a reference, the key of one is how I learned. It was the only. So I've tried to take music theory on YouTube and all these things years ago, and I bought this DVD, The Key of One, and it broke down that there's only like 7 notes, right, that just repeat, and a minor is like you go 1, skip 2, minor is the next one, and then if it's a major, it's 1, skip 2, skip the minor, now you're on a major. That's it. You know, and so once I understood that, dude, it changed the game. Like minor and majors, and that way you can have fun in music, bro. I mean, ain't nothing better than popping out some chords you you couldn't have pulled off, you know, a couple months ago.
Totally.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Just being in key and not hitting any notes out of key goes a long way, unless you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then that's the beautiful thing. Like you said, you know, once you learn those fundamentals, you can travel up and down the keyboard. And then one step past that is like how to break those rules within some larger rules. You know, it's like, wait, I shouldn't be able to play this note, but it works. And then you're like, well, you know, there's like the chromatic scale, which uses everything. And then there's like modes where you play, you know, a similar, you know, it's like it's close, but it's not quite, but it can work if you're doing it right. You know, get jazzy, get bluesy, you know, like, you know, learn the basic rules, and then you can learn to break the rules and just listen. Does it sound dope? Then it works.
Yeah.
Did you know what key it's in anymore? Who cares? The beat's nice.
Exactly. You know? Yeah, learning keys is important.
Let the vocal engineer figure that out when they put the auto-tune on.
Right. It's true. Most artists, that's how they do it.
Yeah.
What key we in?
Yeah, for real.
You know?
I mean, yeah, but beyond that, if you do know the key and the BPM, you definitely know the BPM. But if you know the key, also put both of those in the title of the beat when you send it out to somebody. Man. Don't make them guess the BPM. Don't make them guess the key if you don't have to. Like that's one of those like little professionalism things that I feel like goes such a long way when working with artists, especially, and engineers.
Man, there's no bigger workflow killer than when you're like fumbling through trying to find the key because maybe your auto key software doesn't detect it, and you know, maybe just the patch is sounding weird, so you can't quite find the note to it with 100% certainty. That shit just takes you out of the mood so quick before you even record a thing. Like, I super appreciate producers who do that. Like, if I'm looking for beats on YouTube to record to, if you do that and you got like a nice like little title for it, like a nice like little descriptive word or like some kind of vibe or like something to go off of, like, man, when you were talking about providing value earlier, like that is such a gold mine when you got like 40 beats all with power words like associated to them. They like got a definite vibe and like an idea for you to go off of, and you already got all the labels and shit. Like, man, that's just like a fresh palette of creativity for anybody. It's like for a producer diving into a new sample pack and like none of this shit has like notes to it. None of it's like consistently on like a C or anything. It's just all over the place, and you got to play guessing games.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, man. Workflow is everything.
For sure. Yeah, you wanna label that. When I was like really young, bro. So I went to Pacific Studios in Tacoma, and I had met E-Dog, which is Sir Mix-a-Lot's artist, right? But so at that time, I had brought a beat. I was young and naive, bro, but it worked. You know, like being naive, it sometimes works because you don't know any better. So to me, I could just pop into the session and say hi to these guys, and it worked like that. So now I knew Trife, who was the engineer and stuff, and so whatever. I gave him this beat, and I remember I sampled this joint. It was early, right? So I was still kind of sampling a little bit more, and the BPM happened to be one of those weird BPMs, and I was like, no, and they didn't use my beat, because it was just like too much of a hassle to do what the guy was trying to do. And I was like, I feel it, but I learned very early on, you know, he told me straight up, you know, put the BPM at least, you know? So I was like,
especially if it's a weird BPM. If it's not directly on a number, you better put all those decimal points in.
Yeah.
Just make it on a number. Warp
that beats at 123.456.
So it's on a real number. Don't ever. If you're doing decimals, you already fucked up. Also, like little 100%. Side note on finding the key of something that I have found infinitely useful over the years. Play the song, and then whether it ends or it's just like a little clip or whatever, just imagine what root note the song would end on. Like what note the bass line would like end on and ring out. And more often than not, your guess on that note is going to be the root note of the key. And then you just got to figure out whether it's major or minor. But if you know major and minor, you know minor is kind of sad. Major usually sounds happy. So you probably already know that.
Exactly.
And like you'll get like 90% success rate on just like what note does this song ring out on at the end in the bass line.
Yeah. Well, I know the first note in a chord is usually the root note. You know what I mean? So it's like if it's a G on the bass and he's hitting with a G, it's like, and then it's G, it's sad, minor, just like you said, you know?
Yeah. For
sure.
Yo, I've been wanting to bring this up. I want to make sure to bring this up. So MIDI Money did a book, right?
Yeah. I'm in that somewhere.
Yeah, man. So I wanted to know kind of how that, you know, came about. And for anybody that hasn't read that yet, you know, what's in that book? And what's your piece about?
It's pretty much producers in MIDI Money who have made money, giving you sauce on what they did, and you know it's definitely, if you don't have it, I think it's free. I think you might be able to get it free. I'm not sure, but
it's like a free plus shipping kind of vibe.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not 100%. It's been a low key. It's been a minute since that, but it's a lot of producers tapping in and dropping their sauce on how they're getting clicks and what they're doing. You know, like I learned value from, you know, I didn't pick that up myself. You know, I learned that from other people, like over delivering, you know, and so that's how you got to see it. So MIDI Money, that book is cool, but honestly, if anybody doesn't make money on their beats and they're like, okay, how can I do this? MIDI Money is a great investment, dude, because you get that group of people who are all trying to make it happen. So you're all kind of, you know, able to tap in and see what's going on. They have a weekly call, but it's good to be around people or even be in tune with people that are trying to do what you're trying to do. You know, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. So it's like, if you're not tapped in with no successful producers and you're trying to be a successful producer, you're like, you know, trying to be Christopher Columbus, you know, when you could just really provide value with people and, you know, get to know them and, you know,
make
friends.
Find the right continent.
No, you know what I mean? For sure. You know, so you just got to really network though, you know, just if you provide value and you do your best, people will fuck with you, man. Real recognize real. So just be yourself, you know, and do your best. You know, that ends up being, you got to give, you know.
Coming back to where we started here, I like it, man. What? Give the people some final words of wisdom, anything that you see as a ultimate truth, or just some advice for people trying to come up and make some money in the game.
So definitely, if you're trying to make some money, recognize that it's a business. So don't be naive in thinking that everybody likes you. I always say, you know, assume that no one cares about you. Assume that. So that way, that's how you come off. You're not like, oh, that's why people be like, I got 10 free beats to give you. Like, who cares, dude? So if you're providing value, definitely that's the way to make money. Don't worry about losing too much time as long as you're actually doing your best. Don't go waste time and talk to your friends about buying your beats. That's terrible. Actually, you know what? Let me give you some actionable advice. If you have no money and you're trying to make money selling beats or selling anything, actually, I don't know if I developed it, bro, but I did it as an artist, and then I realized, holy crap, you can do this with anything. Go to your target audience, right? So if you're a producer that makes trap beats, you're gonna go to Lil TJ's page, right? Or something more like you're trying to sell beats, vibe beats, right? You follow somebody along those your sound. If you make hip hop boom bap, you go to Anno Domini or whatever. Things like that. So you go to their followers and you literally send them a message, bro. And I know this goes against the rules, but check this out. I had a VA doing this, bro, and I was like, wow, I would have much rather have done this and spend money on ads. Because remember, it's a people business. You're actually talking to people. So the first message, you just say, hey, you tell them why you're there. So you say, hey, I saw that you follow Anno Domini, so I thought you might like my beats. Should I send them? So that's like knocking on the door. You're not hitting them with a link. You're not telling them who you are. You're just kind of telling them, hey, this is why I'm here. And so now I'm going to ask you for permission. You know what I mean? And so they'll either say yes, which is great. That's when you hit them that link with them free beats and boom, boom, boom. And or they just don't say nothing and you follow up. Most people don't say nothing, and those who say no, whatever, like cool, move on. But definitely you can build your fan base like that, bro. And in any business. So if you're like, I got new music or I got these new beats, but that's not how you open the convo. You say, this is why I'm here. I'm following you because of this, whatever. I thought you might like it. Should I send it? Definitely ask for permission. It's like door knocking, nobody just barges into the home and, here's who I am. Nah, you door knock, right? So definitely I feel like that is the best way for a beginner producer to make it happen. Permission marketing. And so once they say, yeah, and if they love your beats, hey, if you consider buying my pack or whatever, boom, boom, boom. There's money to be made on Instagram DMs, but only send like 40 a day max, because that's when IG starts to, flag you and stuff. I haven't been flagged in over 1,000 messages. You know what I mean? And it's like 40 a day, but that's a VA. I learned that the hard way too. You can't stay consistent. You cannot do it. It's hard to do, bro, to hit up 5 or 10, 40 new people every day. It's tough to do. Hire somebody to do it, even if it's out of your budget. Like I said, I know you guys talked about it, but can I afford it? But can I afford not to? I have to do it. If I don't do it, then I'm a slave to myself. You know what I mean?
High key, I quoted you on this podcast a few episodes back because I read that on your Facebook, man.
Yeah, I seen that. Yeah. That's why I'm bringing that up, because it's true, man. Like, that's how you got to view it. If you quit worrying about, there's a difference between playing not to lose and playing to win.
Yeah.
So that's the attitude.
Just ask the Atlanta Falcons about their Super Bowl ring. Oops. They play, we're 28 points up. Let's play not to lose. Oh, shit.
Yep. Play to win, man.
Play to win. Man, dude. I think you put a bow on it, man. That's some dope advice right there, man. So real quick, shout out your socials.
Page Turner Flow.
At Page Turner Flow.
On everything, Page Turner Flow. Search me up on Spotify and stuff, Page Turner, if you guys want to listen to my songs. And yeah, just follow me on Instagram and Facebook and stuff to see what I'm doing.
That's what's up. Yeah. All right, humans. Thank y'all for listening.
Hey,
thank you, Page Turner, for being here with us. This was super dope, man. Great conversation. Great gems for the listeners. We highly appreciate you. Have to have you back on someday, man. And to all the people out there, peace. And peace among worlds. What's up? I even got the shirt today.
Nice. Oh, man. I feel like we all need that shirt. So people understand why we're flipping them off.
I think I got it like Spencer Gifts or Hot Topic or some shit, man.
Oh, bet. I'm going to have to hit up Spencer's here. Let's roll it.
It's a hot topic, man.
All right, humans, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you so much. Make sure you smash that subscribe, the like, hit a comment, rate and review it if you're on Apple Podcasts. All that good stuff really helps us grow the audience, get up in the algorithms. You know what's up. We appreciate you for doing that. Tell a friend. Now, we got some sponsors that are super dope. Check out Dojo TV. That's free producer live stream classes from the Producer Dojo Senseis. We also record our podcast live over there sometimes. Next, the weekly download, where you can learn directly from Il Gates in his private weekly group lessons and get access to over 230 more episodes in the archive for just $20 a month. Incredible value over there. You will learn a ton as a producer. If you want to get your engineering and mastering skills up, we recommend Guest Practices, where you can learn from Seth Drake at the Approach Institute. He's the best engineer we know, and over there, your first class is free. Those links are down below. Next week, we'll be back with another dope podcast, so make sure you tune in. New episodes every Tuesday. And until then, remember this beat behind you is mine, Luke Rain, Katanas, and it's off the Class of 808 Volume 3 EP that Producer Dojo put out. Until next week, humans, peace out, peace among worlds.
I like it.